Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're just going to wait a couple more seconds. There's still some people that are joining us. Okay, looks like we got everybody in. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today for the workshop and open forum on career hacks. Today's workshop is actually very unique. So it's really going to be what you guys want to ask and what you would like to hear on all things related to career development. So questions as far as interviewing skills and resume building and networking. So it's really going to be how you guys want to shape it today. So please feel free to use the chat. I'll be monitoring that and presenting the questions to our presenters. And so yeah, make sure to use that chat. Make sure that you're on everyone so that everybody can see that. So today you're going to hear from Donald Green. He is our Assistant Director at the Office of Career and Internships Services at SUNY Orange. And Barbara Martinez, so she is an alumna of the college. She is from the class of 2003. And she's also the Partner and Chief Marketing Officer at Emporium Square and Artisan Market. So that's over in Middletown. Check it out if you guys can. It's a great little place to pick up some items for the holidays. And my name is Jen DeAndrea. I'm the Director of Alumni Relations for the SUNY Orange Foundation. And this is really a collaboration between the foundation and the Office of Career and Internship Services in the college. So again, please feel free to use that chat. I'm going to be putting in the chat a link to a survey. So if you guys could take an opportunity just to click on that link while you're here or afterwards, and just give us some feedback as far as what you thought of today's workshops and any ideas that you might have for future workshops. So I think that is about all. we actually are recording today. So I'll be following up with all of you after today's workshop with a link to that recording in case you missed anything or want to catch it up again. And again, thank you so much for attending. I'm going to turn it over to Barbara and Donald. Thanks.
Okay, so Jen, if there are any questions that people emailed in or that anybody has now, we'd be happy to start with that.
Sure. So a really good question that came up was about LinkedIn, which I actually think that would make a great workshop for maybe next semester, but as far as establishing that LinkedIn profile. But the question was, do you need to do a LinkedIn profile?
I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to defer to Barbara first because she's really good at that and really involved in that kind of thing with her marketing company. So Barbara, go ahead.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Jen. Hi, I'm Barbara Martinez. I'm with Emporium Square Artisan Market. And so great question about LinkedIn. And honestly, when it comes to any social media platform, to be on any of them is a plus for anyone that's either looking for a career or looking for a job or looking to connect and network. LinkedIn is different in Facebook and Instagram. That LinkedIn is really based on what really your business profile is. So if you are looking to submit a resume, and a lot of businesses and companies are looking at LinkedIn or your LinkedIn profile to make that connection. So it's more of a professional platform where you present your job skills, job interests, maybe put out feelers. And it's really a virtual way of networking with potential employers or other people that are looking to maybe come work at your business. So LinkedIn, I like to call it as it's that virtual networking hub that allows you to kind of let people know all of your experiences. So if you've never been on a LinkedIn before, I would say it's kind of like Facebook, but a lot more serious. Um, Go in there, update your profile, put some information, especially if you're looking for a job, or if you're looking to look for a shift in job. Sometimes you think you are interested in a specific career, but then the more you learn about what's out there and the more you network and you start talking to people, you discover that there are other niches that you might be more interested in. So LinkedIn gives you that opportunity to really essentially job search, career search, and even learn and connect with professionals in different careers, so that you can decide whether or not you are on the right path or you're looking to switch and pivot in the path that you're on. So it's very easy, user friendly. I don't know how many of you guys have LinkedIn, but it is very easy to use. It's, like I said, similar to Facebook, except for keep in mind that the LinkedIn is kind of like a resume for you that presents you. So have your best picture up there, have, you know, what your careers were. I would avoid anything that has to do with politics, religion. I wouldn't put as much personal information onto LinkedIn, and really try to keep it very professional so they can tell the difference between what is your Facebook account and what is your LinkedIn account.
Yeah, I totally agree, Barbara. And yeah, the way Barbara was saying about the comparison between Facebook and LinkedIn, I like to think of it as like LinkedIn is like Facebook for work. So it's a little different. It's not as personal. It's a really great platform, as Barbara was pointing out. And when people ask me that question in terms of, you know, well, I'm doing my resume and do I need a LinkedIn profile? I always say the sequence of events for me is the advice I always give is number one, do the personal branding exercise, which is asking yourself, what am I really good at? What's unique and special about me? What do I value and believe in? What do people say about me? Do that first, and then you have some raw material to build your resume. Of course, you can also include the chronological stuff and your work history and your education, but this will give you some really good material to use to create your profile, your summary of qualifications, your significant accomplishments, which are three good things to put at the very beginning of your resume. So to me, it's like personal branding exercise, resume, LinkedIn profile, and then infographic resume, if you want to go that far. So a couple more things about a LinkedIn profile. I have a son, and well, I have two sons, but one of them was looking for a job. He had graduated from college. He was on a job. He only had one job after he graduated from college, and he had been there 6 years, and he kind of he plateaued, and he couldn't go any further with that company unless he would move to London, where they were headquartered. He didn't want to do that. So he wanted to look for a job. So he worked up his LinkedIn thing, and I think he got premium for maybe 3 months, which wasn't very expensive. I don't know how much it cost, but anyway, it really paid off for him because he started networking on LinkedIn and doing his job search, and he ended up getting 3 offers for jobs, and the only thing he did was LinkedIn. So all 3 job offers came from using LinkedIn. Another thing that I really like about them, their tutorials and their help stuff on their website is awesome. So you can get everything you need to know for free just by going to that. Another thing I like about them is in terms of the job search process. If you're going to go interview with somebody or with a group of people, a team of people, great thing to do is go look at their LinkedIn profiles. So you go into the interview knowing something about them. And that's always really helpful. So those are a couple things, a couple reasons why I think you really should do a LinkedIn profile especially if you're on a job search.
Mhm.
That's great information, Don. And how often do you think that, I mean, I know you mentioned your son, but how often do you think that employers are actually looking at LinkedIn for job search? Like, where do you think that it rates as far as the job search engines?
Well, again, I would defer to Barbara because she's working with employers as I am, but she probably has really up to the minute kind of information on that. But from my standpoint, the stats are, you know, the national stats and whatever, people who keep track of this stuff, that 85 to 90% of employers are looking at social media. That can be any social media.
Yeah.
But that includes Facebook and Instagram and all that. But so to answer the question, if you're an HR person making a hiring decision, you don't want to make a mistake. I mean, hiring mistakes are painful. You know, they're emotionally bad and they're financially bad and they're expensive. So I know the head of HR, the VP of HR at St. Luke's told me that if he hires an RN and it doesn't work out, that's generally something like a $75,000 mistake because he has to train the RN and get somebody else off the floor, another RN to do the training, et cetera. And then if it doesn't work out after 2 or 3 months, that's really bad. So point I'm making is they're going to research you up and down before they hire you. So they want as much information as they can get. And certainly one of the best ways that they can get it is social media and LinkedIn, things like that. Also brings to mind another thing that's great about LinkedIn is you can upload all this stuff. So you can have like a portfolio, infographic resume, letters of recommendation, all these things connected to your LinkedIn that they can access that can help you, that can enhance your candidacy.
When all things are equal and you have several, let's say you make it past, and I see that someone asked a question about getting past the HR and to an actual employer. When all things are equal and you are deciding between two candidates, the next thing as an employer is to look up the social media. So you are going to look at the LinkedIn to kind of confirm the references that they submitted, review how they present their resume, how do they present their write up, their bio, their infographic. And then of course they're gonna search your Facebook and your Instagram as well, because they want to set you apart from the next candidate that's coming in. So not only is it important to have a good, clean, up-to-date LinkedIn profile if you have one. So you know you can do 1 or 2 mistakes. Not if you don't have one, that's fine. It's not going to hurt you. But if you do have one and it's incomplete, or if it looks like you're all over the place with it, that could potentially hurt you. So just make sure that your LinkedIn is up to date. It's got the information that especially if you're looking for a job, that will help you stand out from the rest. But when it comes to how many employers are looking at social media or LinkedIn, they're looking at everything. They're looking at your LinkedIn, they're looking at your Facebook, they're looking at your Instagram. And they're not just looking for whether or not your information is up to date and resume, they're also looking how you present yourself to the public. So the perception is also very important. Do you fit their business model? And that's going to be based on what they see you put out in terms of politics or religion or posts or what you share. Unfortunately, that's the reality of what's happening now. When you want to set people apart, you're kind of digging into their personal lives as well. So just be very careful what you put out there, because you might not fit the business model of the employer that you're trying to get hired by.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Don, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jen.
We had a few more questions that came in to the chat that I just wanted to get into. Robert asked, he is interviewed for jobs in administrative analysis trainee and similar jobs. They ask about what computer knowledge you have. Is there something specific they are looking for? Would like to make sure I work with the software. So I'm not sure if you have any idea about that kind of software.
I don't think that's hard to find out. First of all, you can Google this stuff. Google's your friend when you're, in your career development and your job search. So you can Google this thing and ask that very question, and you'll get like, all kinds of information. But of course, it's going to vary from company to company. I saw somebody posted up that they were looking for Word and Excel. I would say pretty much any job, you're definitely going to need Word. So that's for sure. And you may need PowerPoint, and you may need Excel and those kinds of things. I know beyond that, the IT people that I'm working with are looking, there's all this software out there that I'm not very familiar with, but they drop those acronyms, very as if everybody knows them. And clearly certain industries, for example, if you're working in cybersecurity, there's software for that. If you're working in accounting, of course, you're going to want to do QuickBooks and all that. So I think it varies a lot, but a little research should give you exactly, what you need to know. And certainly if a job is posted, they will specifically say what you need to know.
Thanks. And I see that there's some chat going back and forth with some of the participants, and they're giving him some suggestions as well, which is really sweet. So another question that we had come in, which is probably a question that a lot of us have had at one point in our lives, is how do you know whether to go for the money or follow your passion?
I was going to defer to Barbara on that because, well, I'll start off and then Barbara can. Barbara, do you want to tackle that first? I've been talking a lot, so I feel like you should talk.
I'm so sorry. I have some construction going on in my emporium, so there's going to be some background noise in the background. I'm trying to close my door. The question is, I'm sorry, can you tell me that question again? Forgive me.
Go ahead, Jen.
Sure. So, when you're kind of starting off, and I think especially, coming out of college, you have student debt, student loan debt. So you're always concerned about making enough money. So how do you know whether to just take a job for the money, or do you really try to follow your passion with that job, with looking for that job?
Well, I think it really depends on the person's circumstances and the situation that they're in. It really is personal, that decision. But I will tell you from experience that I have, being young and a mom and children, of course, you're going to look at making sure you take the job that's available to you at the moment, regardless of the money, because it's important and it's necessary. But you'll always find yourself chasing after that job that you've always wanted. So it really depends on how badly you want to pursue that path. I can tell you from experience that sometimes the job that I went after wasn't the best paying job, but it was the most fulfilling job. And right now, being a business owner, it's not like I'm rolling in riches here, but I'm passionate about what I do. And so I am happier at where I am. So yes, the money may not be the best, but I am happiest because I'm actually pursuing what I want to do. But that came later in life. So these are things that I learned, that happiness or me being satisfied or fulfilled in my career and the job was above what, the money aspect. But not everyone can do that. So it's really up to the person how passionate you are about what you want to do. It doesn't necessarily mean that you don't take the high paying job. It could be that you could just work towards pursuing that that passion that you have. Right now at our Emporium, we have people that have full-time jobs, paying jobs, but they are here on the weekends doing their craft. They're makers and they're crafters and they're bakers, and that's their passion. And it may not be the most best paying job, and it probably won't pay all the bills, but they're happiest because they get to open their own little shop to make and create and do the things that they love, and that fulfills them. So there's, for me, I think that really it has to do with what is your comfort zone, what is your risk level, and what you're willing to do to pursue that passion.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Barbara's saying. And I can also speak from my own experience. There's a couple of things that come to mind with that question. One thing is, I'm going to tell you like 3 different things that come to mind. One thing that comes to mind is when you're making a career choice, there's really 3 important things. You could draw a circle and then do like pie sections of it equal. And in each section, in one section, you'd put money, because obviously, that's why you go to work. In another section, I would put exactly what Barbara was talking about. Like, what are you passionate about? So you've got money and you've got passion. And there's another component that's just as important as the other 2, which is, what are you really good at? So you need all 3 of those things working for you in a career, in a job. And so you definitely want to have all 3. You don't want to have just 2. So, I'm kind of surprised how much that issue comes up with my work at the college, because we have a pretty strong performing arts department, arts and communications department. We have a great music department. We have a great theater department. And we've got a lot of kids who are so talented who come to the college. And I often get these kids in my office saying, and they're really conflicted. And they're saying, well, I'm really passionate about playing music, but if it doesn't work out, I want to have like a plan B, and I don't know like how I am going to know like when it's time to stop, or if it's going to be time to stop, or like how long do you do this, and should I go for it? And I'll tell you why. Every time I get that question, I tell them to go for it, follow their passion. 100% of the time when I get that question, and I don't care if the person's 40 years old or whatever, my answer is you should give it a shot. I'm speaking from my own experience, because I went to the college for 2 years, dropped out, and started a rock band. That was my passion. And I didn't become a rock star, at least not yet. But I'm really glad that I did that, because I did it for full time for 5 years, and it was great. And then I realized that I wasn't becoming a rock star, and I should do something else for money, which I did. In the course of doing something else for money, I also completed my studies and got my bachelor's degree as an adult learner. But right now, I'm playing in 3 working bands. I'm hosting an open mic, and I'm thoroughly engaged in something I'm passionate about. So it wasn't a wrong decision. So yeah, I think you really you want to do both. You certainly don't want to put it aside and say, well, I guess I can't do that. I mean, maybe you can't do it for making a living, but honestly, I think I'm enjoying it more now than I did when I was doing it full time, because I don't have the financial pressure, and I can just play what I want to play and do what I want to do and work with people I want to work with. And, it's a good way to do it.
Jennifer, this is Jamie Gutierrez. Can I just add something? I teach career planning at the college, and I love what Barbara and Don have said. One other aspect, I think, is if you're doing something for the money and you don't really love it, you're not really passionate about it, you may find that you're burnt out more quickly than when you're in a job that it's really your thing. You know, like Don did the rock band for 5 years and then realized, you know, this might not be the path that was going to put, you know, roof over his head and food on the table, but now he's having a chance to do that. I worked in a I worked in corporate America before I came to the college. And I can't tell you how many programmers, engineers I spoke to. I was in HR. How many of them I spoke to who were making gobs of money, right? They had really good salaries. And when we'd start to talk about how much they liked doing what they were doing, that fire wasn't there. So I think that's, as Barbara had mentioned, everybody needs to consider where you're at. Don's given you good examples of that. Long term, you know, you think about how long can I do this for, right? How long can I do this for? And then will I be able to go and do what I'm really passionate about? So I think those might be helpful questions.
Yep, totally agree.
Okay, we got another question that came in. Danielle asks, is it too pushy to call to see if the job has been filled if you submitted a resume and have not heard back from the employer? How long should I wait until reaching out? So basically a good follow-up question after the interview. What do you do?
I don't think it's pushy at all. I think, you know, a lot of times the employers, we get very busy, especially if we get a lot of resumes and applications. So like I mentioned before, when all things are equal and you have several candidates that you're kind of tossing around, for me, it really puts a person on top of mind. When they call, they do that follow-up, they show engagement, they're interested. And it doesn't mean like, can you tell me if you're giving me the job or not? It's not, not doing that. You just call and say, hey, I'm just following up. I wanted to make sure if you have any further questions, I just wanted to connect. If there's anything else you wanted to ask me, you know, just very, very light, just to kind of get your mind back. Cause it'll make that employer, and it has happened to me, look through the stacks of resume and pull yours out and just kind of review it again. And say, okay, let me give me an opportunity, I get back to you. So for me, I don't think it really showing interest. It shows that you are interested, that you care, that you're following up, that you might be the person that does the follow through. And it also, you know, tells me this person's really interested in this job, or, you know, this is serious for this person. I think a follow-up, you know, in a couple days is fine. A week is also fine. Again, very light, nothing pushy, nothing saying I just want an answer now, more on the just following up, checking in, wanting to see, you know, and it just keeps the conversation going, the communication open.
Yeah, I think Barbara's pointing out something that's really important, because she's an employer and she's been an employer for a long time in several, you know, different, let's say, related industries. And what she's saying is that she wants to hire somebody who really wants the job. And that's how employers are. They want to hire somebody who really wants the job. So certainly if you're expressing interest, that's not a bad thing. And there's another thing, which is that when I was an employer, I invariably people would say, so when will I hear back from you? And I would say, well, we're going to go through the resumes, we're doing the screening, and we're doing the interview, and we'll probably be back to you within 10 days. And then 10 days turns into 3 weeks. And then 3 weeks turns into 5 weeks. I mean, employers are very busy and they're doing a lot of things. And even if it's just the HR people, they're doing a lot of things. So a lot of times they have all good intentions of completing the search in a certain amount of time, and it takes much longer. So there's 2 things about that. Number one, find out what the drill is when you're in the interview. So ask them. You just tell them you'd like to understand the process that's going to happen. And then it's not a bad thing to actually put it on the table then. Is it okay if I follow up with you in 10 days or so? Would that be appropriate? And they'll tell you. But certainly they're not going to be if you get to the interview stage, you got through the resume stage, you're let's say a final candidate. If you're getting interviewed, they may have had 70 resumes. Now they're down, they're not going to obviously interview 70 people. They're probably going to try to get that pile down to about 10 or 15 resumes. And the actual number that they'll interview, again, Barbara could speak to this better than I could, but I'm guessing that they'll interview 3 or 4 or 5 people. So for you to be one of those people, certainly they're serious, and certainly it's not a mistake to follow up.
Okay, great. So another question that we had from Robert was, and I think this is a really great question, especially in the current circumstances that we're in. I was recently laid off from a large company. What resources do you suggest for me to use to figure out my next step in getting back into the workforce? I see a ton of essential job openings, none of which are in my field of expertise or knowledge. So he's asking what are some next steps that he should do, especially now during this pandemic time?
Well, it's a good news, bad news kind of thing. Obviously it's not good news that you're looking for a job and it's challenging, but the good news is that you're kind of at square one all over again. And I don't know how far into your career you are, if you're like 25 or 65 or whatever. So obviously that's going to play into it. But I would look at it as something that can energize you and give you a fresh start and get you going. So first of all, one thing that I would be remiss if I didn't say is that we provide those services in our office at the college. So certainly you're welcome to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to either help you with some assessments, some aptitude and interest assessments, something like that, talk to you about what you may want to do. But there's certainly some opportunities that have arisen because of the pandemic. So there's some jobs and industries out there. A couple that come to mind are anything involving pets, anything involving healthcare. I mean, these industries are kind of thriving right now. So there are industries like that. And again, this is where Google is your friend. Just start looking around a little bit, you'll get a whole lot of information. But again, you're going to weigh those 3 things: the money, what you're passionate about, and what you're good at. Barbara, anything you want to add? I think you're on mute.
I think she's on mute. I think that's what hold on a second. Let me, are you able to unmute now, Barbara?
Yes. Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay. I just wanted to say to Robert, first of all, it's a great question. I completely agree with Don about that. A couple of other things that you can do right now while you're kind of trying to figure out what you're trying to do or what you can find is, it's funny because I get a lot of people that say, we can't find anybody to work. And I'm like, what do you mean? There are people looking for jobs. So aside from that, how do you make those connections between the people that are looking to hire and the people that have no jobs? The answer to that is networking, right? There's so many Zoom virtual events and things like this, BNI, social media, you name it, going on right now. So if you can find a way to become part of those networking virtual groups, you get to meet a lot of different people like chamber leaders, masterminds. There's different things that you can be a part of that will kind of give you that shoe in to those businesses that are looking to hire. You'd be surprised how many people when I do these Zoom meetings, say they're looking to hire somebody, but they can't find the right workers. So there seems to be a disconnect between those that are looking for jobs and those that are looking to hire for jobs. And I think the common ground is those networking virtual Zoom meetings that are happening. So if you see them, Robert, on Facebook or Instagram, and you see local businesses promoting, like the college, promoting these virtual events, I would say it doesn't cost any to join, listen in and see, because you're going to pick up and meet people in those groups that could potentially be your next employer.
Yeah, that's a great point, Barbara. And I know a little about Barbara's career, and I know how much she has advanced in her career because she's such a good networker. And, you know, I'm thinking about somebody I'm working with right now. I'm working with somebody who just graduated. Well, graduated in May. She's an RN. She's got her license. Now she's ready to get out there and look for a job. She's a great candidate. She did really well in school. She works really hard. She's very pleasant. She's fun to, you know, talk to. So she's a great candidate. But the RN thing is pretty competitive. And they do like to hire people who have some hands-on experience. You know, everybody who graduates from SUNY Orange has 900 hours of clinicals. Everybody who gets their license has an RN license. So, you know, when they're looking for somebody, they'll get 50 or 70 fully qualified candidates. Maybe out of that 50 or 70, again, I've had HR people in healthcare tell me I might as well throw darts. I mean, maybe I'll be able to separate the best 40, but within that best 40, I couldn't tell you which one's more qualified. So full disclosure, they don't really know. So therefore, like this student I'm working with right now, great candidate, great credentials, and she's a waitress. And she has no experience in healthcare, no background experience on the job in healthcare. I actually should follow up with you guys and let you know what happens, because I asked her, do you have any network? Now, I would be happy to network her. You know, I could have her talk to Garnett or St. Luke's or, you know, HR people who I'm familiar with. But I asked her if she had any network. And she said, well, one of my instructors said, because I want to work at Westchester, that when the time comes, I should tell her when I'm ready, because I could get her, and she could get me an interview down there in the next week or two from when I tell her. That she said they'll probably interview her the next week. Well, look at how that's going to work. She's going to be referred by somebody who's got credentials. I'll bet you there's a 70% chance she gets that job, just because she's a great candidate. She's going to be referred by somebody who they respect. And so again, you know, as opposed to like answering Indeed and looking at job boards and, you know, being one of 200 people if you're one of 200 people and all things are equal, you've got a 0.5% chance of getting hired. So yeah, totally agree with Barbara. Do the networking thing. Your odds are so much greater. And if you're having any kind of difficulty doing the networking thing, do informational interviews where you just call up people saying, not, I want a job, I want your advice. Barbara would be a great person to do an informational interview with, because her network is so great. I just worked with another student who I'm referring to a couple retired people who are really, you know, knowledgeable and well networked, and they're going to do informational interviews with this student. And I guarantee you, they're going to have like, I don't know, 10 or 15 connections for her. And now she's going to have 10 or 15 really viable targets, and she's going to have these people who are really respected helping her. And that's just such a better way to get a job than just answering job boards.
Okay, Donna, you ready for another question?
Sure.
What should you do if you have no idea what you want to do? It seems like everyone has a path and a direction except me.
Nobody does. Most people don't have a.
We're just still trying to figure it out ourselves.
I still don't know what I want to do. No, you know, that's, I think we all kind of go in thinking that we know. Okay, so let me see. I'd love to touch this one because I have had well over 100 interns that I dealt with. And a lot of them, you know, came in saying, you know, I know exactly what I want to do. And those that knew exactly what they wanted to do, did it. Then I had others that knew what they wanted to do, but then once they did the internship and they got exposed to different aspects of whatever the field was, they determined, maybe that's really not what I want to do. And I kind of want to go in this direction. And then you have those people that they go through the internship and then they still realize they still don't know what they want to do. And that's okay, because a big part of learning this process of going through this is establishing what truly you're passionate about, and if you want to try different things. That's why when I talk about networking isn't just so that you can meet people. Networking is so that you can meet people and learn about what they do and really kind of say to yourself, I never thought of it that way, and I'm interested in learning more. At that point, you get mentors. You get people that they want to talk to you about their careers or what's out there, what they know, what they've learned, the pitfalls, what to avoid. You really kind of start building around the experiences that you have by speaking to different people. So if you don't know what you want to do, I wouldn't be discouraged, because not everyone knows what they want to do right away, right out of college. What I say to the students is intern, try different businesses, attend events. You know, if you're part of the business club, attend events that chambers put out, because that's where you meet a lot of the local businesses. And if you are interested in a specific career path, don't be afraid to reach out and see if that agency may allow you to shadow or intern with them so that you can get a better idea of what that is. Volunteering is a really big, powerful way for you to get not only experience, but your foot in the door. Because guess what? I'm gonna hire my volunteer before I hire an intern or an outsider. So there are different ways to kind of start feeling out different things and get an idea of what you might wanna do. I didn't know that I wanted to do marketing and promotions until many years later. And right now, you know, I run my own business of merchants here at Emporium. I didn't know that's what I wanted to do until I got here. So it really had to do with how many people I met through the years, the experiences, what I recognize, this is really, criminology is really not for me. So there was just different things. I think it's more about not being afraid to take risks, not being afraid to take chances, not being afraid to put yourself out there, to meet people, to network, to introduce yourself, and to learn. Be ready to learn. Because even Robert saying it's a daunting task at 44 years old, at 44 years old, you still got a lot to learn, and you will probably find the job of your dream that you will absolutely be passionate about. If it's not there yet, it's because you still haven't found it yet. It's coming, Robert. I can feel it for you.
Yeah, that's a great answer, Barbara. And, you know, I'm just thinking, reflecting on my own careers and my own career path. When I was 44 years old, I've had 2 or 3 careers since then. You know, I started at SUNY Orange when I was in my 50s, and now I've been there 18 years. So anyway, I totally agree with Barbara. I think we have something that we refer to in this business of career services called the chaos theory of career management. And what that means is stuff happens. And, you know, You can make a plan. Of course you should make a plan. Of course you should follow a path, but then something can come totally out of left field. And it's like, oh, wow, what an opportunity. And so, you can't always plan it all out. And you certainly should be open to what opportunities come along. And you certainly should be systematic, but you can also expect that sometimes things can happen that will steer you in a different direction than you had planned. And you definitely want to go with it if it presents a great opportunity for you.
Okay, great. I think we have time for one more question, which came in earlier today. So everybody has setbacks along the way. Have you ever felt lost on a job or with your career? So there's multi-questions in this one. If you get knocked down, how did you find your way back up? How did you keep yourself from falling into a victim mentality?
I'm sure Barbara and I have both had those experiences. You want to start, Barbara?
Yeah, I think I would be hard pressed to find someone that didn't feel defeated or knocked down or stuck in a rut or feeling like they're in a dead end job that's going nowhere, or feeling like there's no growth here and what am I doing? Just, coming in every day and just, I'm miserable. It's going nowhere. I think we are in a unique position now in what's available to us in terms of what's out in social media and what people put out, that you have the ability to Google anything and search for something else. One of the things that I say to people, I know that sometimes finances play a big role in your decision. Like I just can't afford to quit my job because I have bills to pay. So you deal with the misery of the job that you absolutely hate. But give yourself a plan. I wouldn't say quit the job that next day. What I would say is start researching and changing things around, whether it is taking a class at the college to take you towards the direction that you want to go, whether it is, like I mentioned before, starting to network with people or starting to volunteer. Put yourself out there so that you don't leave yourself in a box. Don't think this is it, this is all I'm stuck with, and I'm absolutely miserable. You have control of your life, and you can make the decision to either stay there or move on. It's about growth. So you're the one that's going to take the time to either network, to enhance your engagement with the community, with the people, by volunteering, by meeting people, and making that choice on whether or not you want to move on from that dead end job, or whether or not this is where you want to be. Take a training. There are so many resources out there right now. We are blessed that we have, SUNY Orange here, and we have other businesses that will pay for training if you are interested in maybe coming on and taking a different career path. So when you're starting to feel defeated, I would say, speak to a mentor. Speak to someone at the college. There's a lot of resources out there. Sometimes putting something out on Facebook even works, even LinkedIn. When you put it out on LinkedIn and you say, I'm feeling this and I'm just kind of, I don't know, you're going to get a lot of people that do, like life coaches, that will say to you, try this. How about that? Here's an angle, So there's a lot of resource out there. You just have to speak up and make that choice that you want to make that change. And you want to start changing the trajectory of where your life is going. So I don't think that anyone has to stay stuck in any position. You have the control to really change and go towards what you want to do. And it's okay if you switch careers 2, 3, 4 times until you find the right one. You shouldn't feel like a failure. If anything, this is you finding what your right path is so that you could truly be happy, because we all deserve to have that. And on the flip side, as an employer, I want to have an employee that wants to work for me. I want to have an employee that's happy with me and happy with our business, that supports our business model, that follows our mission. I don't want an employee that's miserable and is just dragging the rest of us down, that has no initiative, that has no motivation, that doesn't even want to come to work, that calls out sick. No employer wants that. So really, when you think about it, no one wants to hire someone that's miserable or have to keep an employee that's disgruntled or miserable. And no one should stay at a job if they're disgruntled or miserable. So it works both ways. I think there's definitely a job out there for everyone. You just have to find what it is.
I really like what Barbara said about, being proactive. I think that's kind of the key, because if you just feel like the wind's blowing you around and, oh my God, this happened and now I'm this, and you get into that victim mentality, that's sort of paralyzing. Whereas if you just take the attitude, okay, I'm going to get a hold of this thing, and just what's the next step? Don't think about how to do everything. Think about how to do the next thing, and then the next, and then the next, and then step by step, you'll definitely get there. And again, if you look at it as an opportunity, not as necessarily this is horrible, this is terrible. Of course it's horrible and terrible when you lose your job and you have the financial pressure and all of that. But we've all been there. And I don't think I've ever talked to anybody who hasn't been there. I mean, I remember, I'm aging myself, but I watched the Eagles documentary, and it's kind of like, here's a band that didn't have like 1 minute of failure. They just started and they just got successful right away, and they stayed successful for decades. They're still playing. But I mean, that's so unusual. The rule in music, I mean, again, people like Garth Brooks, he went to Nashville to be a country star, and he came home defeated. He lost. He was done. And then somebody kind of smacked him across the face and said, "Get up, you idiot, go back." He went back and he became a star. So, I mean, everybody's been there. Everybody's had those, ups and downs, and you'll come out of it. You'll come out of it through just making the effort to come out of it.
If I may, I wanted to just quickly jump really quick. I know we're running out of time. Danielle just asked something about personal connection while using apps like Glassdoor, and whether or not, how do you make that personal connection? And I want to tell you really quickly, we had a young couple that do balloon installations, and I didn't know anything about them, and they were really interested in being part of Emporium. And the reason I noticed them was because they started visiting Emporium, making posts, encouraging people, doing reviews, really showing, engaging with the business. And it just kind of light bulb went off, and I said, who are these people? And why are they loving us so much, And it really showed that not only were they truly interested in Emporium, they were kind of like, hey, it's me, we're here, notice us, we're amongst all these other people. And they became, when they approached me, it was like, click, I know who they are. So making a personal connection doesn't have to be you knocking on their door or, somehow sending them a fruit basket, but it could be more like letting them know that not only are you learning more about the business, you're encouraging other people to learn about the business, to engage with them, to follow them, to support them, to visit their website. It really shines a light on who's supporting the business. And now more than ever, with a lot of businesses closing their doors and trying to stay afloat, having as much support as possible from the community and people is very important. So everybody's very aware and very engaged. So if you are really good with social media, and if you're really good in putting out information that will potentially support a business, guess what? You're gonna be noticed by that business. So that's how you make that personal connection. They start to learn more about you, and you become the person that they want on their court. So I say to people, social media is very powerful. It's a free, powerful tool. Use it to the best of your ability, whether it's LinkedIn, social media, Instagram. Be very responsible with it, but use it, because businesses are watching, and that's how they're making a lot of decisions when they're hiring.
Great. I want to, so because we are running out of time, I just want to thank both Barbara and Don for today's workshop. You guys had really great responses in the chat, as well as some questions that came in beforehand. So this was a great conversation. I just want to thank you both. And then I just want to remind everybody to fill out that survey if you can. We'd love to get some feedback from you as far as what you thought of today's workshop, and if you have any ideas for any future workshops. And I'll also be sending you a link to this recording. So you need to share it with anybody that you think might benefit from what was talked about today. So thanks everyone again. Please keep in touch. Let us know if you need any help or any additional assistance. I put both Don's and my email in the chat. So please feel free to reach out at any time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.